Now then, you love it all. Welcome back to the Max Goodwin YouTube channel and yet another tier list on our channel. Today, we're going to be taking a look at every single winner of the Golden Boy Award. Now, you may be asking me, Max, what's the Golden Boy Award and why do I care? Well, let me tell you, it started in 2003 and consists of some of the greatest journalists in football at the moment, and they come together every single year to decide who the greatest young talents in football are. There are 18 recipients of the award over history, and some of them are pretty tasty and some of them not so much. But that's by the by, because we're not going to get into that just yet, because before we get into that, please be sure to drop a like on the video if you enjoy this and subscribe down below. Turn on notifications so you never miss a video, as well as all the content coming out in the year 2021. Now, without any further ado, let's crack straight into this tier list. This will be available in the video description for this episode, with every single recipient of the Golden Boy Award in order by date. So we're going to be starting off in the year 2003, and the first winner of the award, Rafael Van Der Vaart. What a player, of course, on his day. Absolutely exceptional attacking midfielder. Of course, won in 2003 during his time, I believe, with Ajax. He then went on to play for the likes of Real Madrid, Tottenham and Hamburg, having a pretty journeyman-esque career during the latter days of his career. He definitely had some exceptional performances within his locker. I'm definitely thinking at least a B. I think a solid B in terms of the career he had. Of course, injuries were the main issue that he had throughout his career. He also had a couple of bust-ups with some of his teammates, such as Zlatan Ibrahimovic. But nevertheless, I do think he had a fantastic career. Definitely an exceptional player on his day, and I feel like a B is warranting the ability that he had. The next player on our list is the winner of the 2004 Golden Boy Award, that being Wayne Rooney, the first English recipient of the award, and trust me, he won't be the last. But I definitely think he lived up to the hype. He won this during, I believe, his first year at Manchester United. I'm not quite entirely sure. But of course, Manchester United legend, the top goal scorer at the club of all time, won Premier League titles, Champions Leagues, FA Cups, every trophy you can think of he won, bar an international trophy, of course. And for me, I think you have to put him in the S tier. It'll be low S tier considering some of the players going in there later on. But a fantastic player on his day, one of the greatest English forwards of all time. Some people say he never really lived up to the hype. Personally, for me, 08 to 2010 era Wayne Rooney was just stupid. So good. Bold Rooney was like peak years, alongside Tevez and Ronaldo at Man United. That was the best, probably one of the best club sides I've ever seen. Just the flowing on the counter-attack was absolutely perfect. So for me, it has to go in the S tier. And speaking of the S tier, we move into our next player, the winner of the 2005 award, Lionel Messi. You might have heard of him. He played for Barcelona for a little while, became the greatest player of all time. So yeah, you may have heard of him. Of course, recently surpassed Pelé as the greatest goal scorer of all time for a single club. I'm not counting them friendly goals until it's officially verified. So for me, it's Lionel Messi, who is the number one at the moment in that category. Of course, won absolutely everything there is to win with Barcelona. Champions Leagues, La Ligas, Copa del Rey's. Obviously won the Ballon d'Or the most out of anybody in history, alongside Cristiano Ronaldo. For me, probably still the best player on the planet right now. However, it's definitely a lot closer than it ever has been. He's definitely taken a little step back in the last 12 months, certainly by his lofty standards, but has to go in the S tier, probably going to be the highest ranked player in this entire list by my personal opinion. To watch, I'm very lucky to have watched him on TV a few times, and he is just amazing. You sometimes forget that there are another 10 world-class players on the pitch when he's playing, because he just completely engulfs you, engrosses you, and makes you want to pay attention to what he's doing. And I think just for that is such a rare thing for a player to be able to do. Our next player is the 2006 winner, Cesc Fabregas. I remember when this guy was Francis Fabregas back in 2004, 2005 when he first joined Arsenal. I remember having his Match Attax star player. That's a bit of a throwback if you remember Match Attax. But yeah, exceptional player. Obviously at Arsenal was a bit more of an advanced player in that midfield, alongside the likes of Freddie Ljungberg, Robert Perez during their latter stages of their Arsenal career. Really took up the mantle when they started dropping off due to old age. And of course now is with Monaco, having had spells at Barcelona where he was really, really good under the likes of Pep Guardiola. And then a spell at Chelsea under Jose Mourinho, particularly that 14-15 season. For my money, is probably his best season in a Chelsea shirt when he won the Premier League with them. He was so unplayable at times. Some of the passes that he was pulling off. For me, it was between him and Ozil, who were the most creative players in the league at that time, and I definitely think Cesc Fabregas was up there. I'm going to put him towards the top of the A's. I think he'll stay up towards the top as well as we get through this list, because he was just so good, so good in his prime, and it's good to see him finally getting the recognition he deserves, or still getting the recognition he deserves as he still tears up for Monaco. So let's get into our next player. Our next player is the winner of the 2007 Golden Boy Award, Sergio Aguero. He won this during his time at Atletico Madrid prior to his move to Manchester City. And again, like Cesc Fabregas, I don't know how you can look any further than him being in the A category. Of course, Manchester City's record goal scorer of all time is within the top 10 goal scorers in Premier League history. Scored a bunch of goals for Atletico Madrid as well, and for Argentina at international level. The trophies at Manchester City have of course come as well. Several-time Premier League champion, several-time FA Cup winner and Carabao Cup winner. Never won that international or European trophy, so you could argue that his career's never reached that quite highest peak. But I certainly think that he'll go down as probably City's best player of all time, alongside maybe David Silva or Yaya Toure. But of course had an exceptional peak to his career and can still go at it even though he's over 30 years old. So that's a great career for a great player. Wow, I've just seen the next player on this list. I copied all these pictures off of an article. I've just seen the next player on our list. Anderson. Who remembers Anderson? Oh my word. So if there's some younger viewers who don't know who Anderson was, he was a Brazilian midfielder who was playing in the Brazilian league. I can't remember who he was playing for at the time. It was like Atletico Mineiro or someone. And he came to Manchester United with so much hype. And for about 18 months, he was really, really good, like a really solid player. And we're talking in the late 2000s, towards the end of Fergie's time at Manchester United. He became a semi-regular. I believe he had some injury problems. And then when Fergie left, his career became genuinely so nomadic. Went back to Brazil, played all across Brazil and in several other leagues. I believe he spent some time in China as well. Never really lived up to hype despite his initial promise at Manchester United. He is such a throwback player. I feel like if you know who Anderson is, if you really remember him, that really dates how old you are at the moment. I think I'm going to have to put him in the bin, to be honest. Like, he was a really tidy footballer, technically a very solid footballer. He just didn't really do anything else. Like, he wasn't a very particularly dominant defensive midfielder. He couldn't really dribble. He wasn't a particularly competent passer. He was just he reminds me a bit of what Arthur is at Juventus, who used to play for Barcelona, just technically very good, but not really good at anything in particular. And it's a shame because he had so much promise when he arrived at Manchester United, and he never really lived up to it. And unfortunately for the next few players on our list, that's going to be a pretty common theme, I think. The next player, again, a Streets Won't Forget player, Alexandre Pato, won this during his time at AC Milan. Of course, spent quite a long period at Milan. I think it was about 5 or 6 years before he went back to Sao Paulo. He then spent half a season on loan at Chelsea about 3 or 4 years ago, which was absolutely wild. He actually ended up in the Premier League. I was so gassed to see him, and he just did absolutely nothing. However, off the back of those 2 seasons he had at Milan at the beginning of his senior career, he has to go, I think, in C. I think it would be hard to put him in the bin because he did genuinely have a lot of potential. He was so good in that Milan team in the late 2000s alongside the likes of Robinho, Ibrahimovic, Kevin Prince Boateng. That was such a hipster team, man. And Patto up front, leading the line, an exceptional striker on his day. It's just a shame his injuries and really his attitude never really lived up to the hype that it seemed to deliver. And like I said, with Anderson, there's a few players on this list who unfortunately fall into that kind of category. Our next player is the winner of the 2011 award. Our next player is the winner of the 2010 award, that being Mario Balotelli. He won this during, I believe, his time at Inter Milan. Correct me if I'm wrong, because there was a few years where he was at different clubs. Spent time at Inter Milan during his early career before moving to Manchester City. He then departed for AC Milan, during around 2013, 2014, before then joining Liverpool. Going back to AC Milan, he then spent time with Nice and Marseille in the French league before joining Brescia, his hometown club, a couple of years ago. Didn't really work out for him there, and he's currently with Serie B outfit Monza, who are owned by Silvio Berlusconi, the former owner of AC Milan, which I believe is why he's playing there. I think a couple of the old Milan boys have joined up with Berlusconi at Monza in their push to return to Serie A. And again, very similar career to Patto in my opinion, very journeymanic, very nomadic in his attitude, but did have some genuinely good spells as a player. His first season at Milan in 2013, I believe it was really good, very solid striker during that time. His first couple of years at Manchester City, where he was really establishing himself in the team when they won the Premier League, I think as well he was exceptional. But of course, you have to think about Liverpool, you have to think about the majority of his career at Milan. Did have a little bit of resurgence at Nice and Marseille, where he scored a few goals, but at 30 odd playing in Serie B, not really had the career you'd expect. I'm going to put him in C, behind Patto, or sort of equal to Patto in the end. But again, it's a shame he never really lived up to the hype, because I think he was such a cool player back in the day to watch. Our next player is Mario Gertzer, of course the man who scored the winning goal during the 2014 World Cup final, and I feel like just for that he goes above C. He had like a really good early career. I feel like he just petered too early. He started his career at Borussia Dortmund, winning the Bundesliga under Jurgen Klopp, forming that deadly duo with that combining attacking and midfield force with the likes of Royce and Lewandowski at Borussia Dortmund. He then moved to Bayern Munich, where he showed some really early promise under Pep Guardiola. He was like a false nine before Ribery then started playing there, and then eventually they just signed Lewandowski in the end because they got a bit bored of that. But of course had a decent career at Bayern Munich. He scored the winning goal in the 2014 World Cup, as I mentioned, during his little cold open. And unfortunately his career then kind of petered off from there. He rejoined Borussia Dortmund, where he was sort of solid, if not unspectacular, before joining PSV Eindhoven in the summer. Of course, a big part of this is down to a metabolic issue that he suffered from for quite a long period of his career, and I feel like it's harsh to judge him on his ability when such a debilitating disease to suffer from has really stunted his growth as a footballer. I feel like he's had a very similar career to Van Der Vaart, so I think I'm going to stick him in there alongside the Dutchman in the B category, towards the lower end, because he definitely didn't hit the heights that we would expect from him, but certainly not a bad career when you consider the silverware that he achieved with Dortmund and Bayern Munich during his spell in Germany. Our next player is Isco, who won this in 2012 during his spell with Malaga. He would later move on to go to Real Madrid, where unfortunately, due to having the best or second best. The next player on our list is Isco, who won this during his time with Malaga. He then moved to Real Madrid for, I believe, 40 million euros at the time. Unfortunately, due to having the second best player of all time and the most expensive player of all time in front of him in the pecking order, he never really made the cut at Real Madrid. Had some really, really good spells with the club. I remember when Zidane first came in, he was one of the most integral players during that initial Champions League win under the Frenchman. But unfortunately, since then, hasn't really hit the heights. Still at Real Madrid now, has probably made around 200 appearances for the club. Every summer, he seems to be linked with a departure to the likes of Man United, Arsenal, Manchester City, Juventus, PSG. All the super clubs seem to be circling for him. He never ever seems to leave. Has recently been linked to hooking up with his former manager, Carlo Ancelotti, at Everton, I believe. And it'll be interesting to see if that actually happens or not. Personally, I don't think it will. I think he's pretty much a lifer there at Real Madrid. Hopefully he gets the chance he deserves, because on his day, much like many of the players on this list, he is genuinely unplayable. So we're going to stick him in the B category alongside Gertzer and Van Der Vaart. I'll probably put him a bit ahead because he is still playing at the top level when he is actually getting an opportunity. So I'm pretty happy with him in the Bs, but possibly a bit moved down if we get a couple of more players in that category. We now move towards the middle of the 2010s, and our first player of that sort of time period is Paul Pogba, the winner of the 2013 Golden Boy award. He won this during his time at Juventus and of course would spend 2 more trophy-laden seasons at the Old Lady before rejoining academy club Manchester United. Or whether you think of Paul Pogba, whether you think he's been a flop, or whether you think he's been a success at Manchester United, you certainly can't look past the trophy haul he has. Several Serie A titles in Italy as well as some Coppa Italias, as well as a Europa League, an FA Cup and a Carabao Cup in England. And you can't really look past him being an A in my opinion. A low A at that because I don't think he's necessarily fully lived up to the expectations that we all had on him when he first came back to England. However, definitely got to be an A when you consider his contributions holistically within both Manchester United and Juventus over the past decade since he won the award. And for me, has to be a solid A. And we'll move into our next player. The year is 2014. Luis Suarez has just bitten half the players in the Premier League and racially abused the other half of them. And Liverpool come within inches of winning the Premier League title. And the man who was the starlet of that team, the jewel in the crown, was Raheem Stering, the winner of the 2014 award. Of course, coming off the back of that exceptional breakout season with Liverpool, where he really established himself within those further 2 years as the most important player in that Liverpool squad. He then would depart for Manchester City for a fee in the region of about £50 million in 2015, I believe, before Pep Guardiola came in. Struggled to find his feet a little bit, but then when the Spaniard came in to coach the club, he has really never looked back. One of the most important players in that Manchester City team during both of their title wins under Guardiola, and even still in his late 20s is absolutely tearing it up for Manchester City. The fact that he's still really in his peak years and probably has another 4 or 5 years at his absolute best just really says to how long this guy's been about for. It was like 2011, 2012 when he really broke into that Liverpool team when he signed from QPR. And I think it's exceptional and a real testament to his fitness and his attitude and his application that even in 2020 he's still one of the most integral players in the best team in the country right now. So kudos to Raheem Stering. He goes into the A tier alongside the likes of Sergio Aguero and Cesc Fabregas. The trophy haul, of course, as well, unlike other players in this list, completely dwarfs them. Premier League title winner, FA Cup winner, Carabao Cup winner. Never quite won that European title, never quite won that international trophy, but hopefully, as an England fan, fingers crossed, that changes this year at the Euros. But let's move into our next player. Our next player on the list is Anthony Martial. 2015, he joined from Monaco for a fee of about £65 million, which really in today's money is absolutely nothing when you consider what some players are going for. But nevertheless, he has been hot and cold at Manchester United. He's had seasons where he's been exceptional. He's had seasons where he's not necessarily been a particularly good player. However, I think he averages out at a pretty decent signing when you consider the fee they paid for him and the fact that they've had at least, 5 years now out of him, and the fact that there's got to be another few years left in the tank for the Frenchman, still only being about 24, 25 as well. He was so young when he came to the Premier League. I remember that debut game watching him against Liverpool where he just tore them apart with that debut goal he scored and just thinking this player's going to be something. He's never quite hit them heights, but he's definitely on that level of potentially in the next 18 months really breaking through. And I think under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's really improved his forward play. His movement is obviously exceptional, but I think his more striker, predatory instincts have really adapted under the Norwegian. And so I'm going to put him into the Bs. If you'd asked me this maybe even 2 years ago, I'd have put him in the bin or as a C, but I do think he's really improved over the last 18 months to 2 years. Certainly better than Isco, I think, towards the top of the Bs. And if he can continue like that, maybe he'll push into the As in the near future. Unfortunately, we only have 5 players left on our list. We need to take a trip back to the year 2016. Portugal have just won the European Championship, their first major tournament as a country. And the man at the heart of it, Renato Sanchez. What a prospect he was in 2016. Such a combative and elegant midfielder at the same time. Such an interesting skill set. Unfortunately, he moved from Benfica to Bayern Munich during probably the most tumultuous period in the Bavarians' history. Never really established himself and unfortunately was then loaned to Swansea City. And for me, that did not paint a picture of the kind of player Renato Sanchez is. He was in the dysfunctional Swansea City team, basically on the brink of being relegated and never really got his chance to establish himself on the team. Put that alongside the fact that he was injured so much of that time. He never got the rub of the green during his time in England. He has since absolutely rebuilt his career at Lille in the French league, has become one of the most important midfielders in Europe, and is definitely on the brink of a big money move to a big European club. I've seen the likes of Liverpool and Juventus linked to him in sort of the last year or so, and I definitely think he is a player of that calibre, and it'd be interesting to see him alongside someone like Naby Keita in the midfield for Liverpool. So I'm going to put him into the Bs. Again, if you'd asked me a year ago or even 18 months ago, I'd have put him in the bin because I would have written him off. But he's really established himself and rebuilt his reputation in the French league. So I'm going to put him alongside the likes of Mario Gertzer and Van Der Vaart as players who still have never really hit the peaks that were expected of him, but he still has the opportunity to do so, I think, should he get given the chance at a real elite club in Europe. No disrespect to Lille, of course. The next player on our list is the winner of the 2017 award, and what a breakout year it was for Kylian Mbappe. I remember him bursting onto the scene in that match against Manchester City for Monaco in the Champions League, where he was just unplayable. It was like watching a young Cristiano Ronaldo, just the way the ball stuck to him, and everything in that team went through him. Everything, attacking-wise, was by his finger. He was such a good player in that match and during that entire two-legged stage as Monaco reached the Champions League semi-finals that year. Of course, would then move on to PSG for a fee of around £200 million and has since established himself as one of the best players, not just this generation, but in the entire world today. For me, has to go in the S tier. Just the fact that this kid is 22 years old, younger than me, not by much, by a couple of months, but younger than me, and has won everything he needs to win except the Champions League. And he's still got 12, 13 years at the absolute top, I think, considering how freakish an athlete he is. He could be the next Ronaldo or Messi in the way he just will transcend not just football, but sports culture. And I think to be that kind of a player is exceptional. Not just freakishly good like a Raheem Stering or a Harry Kane or a Paul Pogba, but to transcend sports culture and be recognised as one of sport's greatest players, not just in football but in sport in general, is exceptional. And that is a sword I will die on or a hill I will die on in terms of Kylian Mbappe. I think he is an exceptional athlete, not just an exceptional footballer, but an exceptional athlete, and it's easy in the S tier. And if there was a tier above S tier, 5 or 6 years' time, he'd be in it. I can guarantee you that. Our next player is the winner of the 2018 award. What year 2018 it was. The scenes when England hit that World Cup semi-final. The quality of the football being played in the Premier League with the likes of Manchester City and Liverpool tearing it up. What a year 2018 was. And now we're in 2021 in another lockdown. Never mind. The winner of the award that year was Mathias De Ligt, of course, of Ajax. He absolutely tore it up with that Ajax team. Would later reach the Champions League semi-finals, falling in the final hurdle to Tottenham Hotspur, of course, and has really established himself, in my opinion, as one of the best defenders in the world right now. Bit ropey during his first 6 months in Turin, but of course, with players so young, you need that time to adapt to yet another culture and a culture change. For me, I'm putting him straight in the A's. I think he's an exceptional defender. I think he will be yet another generational defining defender. At 21, to be playing at probably, the third or fourth, fifth best team in the world, alongside the likes of Chiellini, Ronaldo, Paulo Dybala, these amazing, again, generational players. I think it speaks volumes that he is one of the standout players in that team, and I think he goes straight into that A tier alongside the likes of Fabregas and Aguero. The penultimate player in our list is the winner of the 2019 award, that being Joao Felix. I think I'm going to put him in the Bs, but at the top of the Bs. He's had a really good 6 months at the beginning of this season for Atletico Madrid, and I think it's just too early to really determine whether he's going to be an absolute legend of the game or one of them players who never really lives up to the hype. So it's tight, and I know on my last list I put him towards the top, but I'm still yet to be fully convinced that he is the man for Atletico Madrid in the future. But I'll be happily disproved in the next few years when he absolutely tears up for Portugal and wins the World Cup in the summer. The final player on our list is the winner of this year's award, or should I say last year's, now we're in 2021, that being Erling Braut Haaland. What a player, what an athlete, what a freakish athlete Haaland is, and what a player, of course, he is. Absolutely tearing up for Dortmund. Did it with Salzburg at the beginning of last season as well. Really announced himself during the Champions League group stages with games against Napoli and Liverpool. And again, can't look past him being an A. Towards the top of the A's as well. I think he'll be an absolute icon of the game in the next few years. He's been exceptional for Dortmund, even during the early stages of his career. And the fact that this guy's, 18, 19? What's he got? 13, 14, 15 years at the very top level. And he's already one of the best players in the world. Wish us luck. Will we see this guy absolutely tearing it up later in life? Thus concludes this week's tier list, where we went through every single golden boy to have won the award since 2003. Let's take a quick look through the list we've compiled. In the S tier, we've got Lionel Messi, Wayne Rooney and Kylian Mbappe. In the A tier, we've got Cesc Fabregas, Sergio Aguero, Erling Haaland, Raheem Stering, Paul Pogba and Mathias De Ligt. In the B tier, we have Joao Felix, Anthony Martial, Isco, Rafael Van Der Vaart, Mario Gertzer and Renato Sanchez. In the C tier, we have Alexandre Pato and Mario Balotelli. And in the bin, we have Anderson, unfortunately on his own yet again. This concludes this week's tier list. What did you think of it? I'll be sure to leave a link of it in the description of this video or pinned in the top comments. So if you want to go try it yourself, have a go and show me on social media where you placed each player. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like on it and subscribe down below. Turn on notifications so you never miss a single Max Goodwin video. You can follow me on both Twitter and Instagram at MaxDJ Goodwin. And until next time, I will catch you later.